Hello all you YouTube fans and gold prospecting fans. A couple of days ago I splurged a little bit and bought myself a so-called cleanup sluice. I'd seen these mentioned several times on the YouTube channels, saw a couple of YouTube videos. People seem to think that they were quite an excellent cleanup sluice, and there were a couple of options that you could buy in these sluices. This is the alluvial sluice, which does not have the ribbed matting. It's got almost like a dimple matting. They claim that this is very good for very fine and flake gold. Then you get the same model with rib matting, just the low profile rib matting, which you can find in most any hardware store or online for an exorbitant price. And then you get a combination model that has a slick plate up front here, aluminum slick plate with grooves in the aluminum, and then slightly further down another smaller slick plate that goes across. So there's two or three different models, but I chose the alluvial one because, as I've said before, here in northeastern PA, the gold is not considered nuggets and pickets normally. It's considered as placer gold or fine flake gold or flour gold. So the more help I could get from the sluice, the better in separating the blonde and the black sands away from that fine flaky gold. What I've got here is basically the bucket, courtesy of Lowe's. With the kit you've got the two bolts, which actually, with a template, you drill into the side of the bucket. The template automatically gives you the height from the bucket rim, and that height obviously determines the angle or pitch of the sluice itself. There's also a template, paper template, for drilling the holes, which they say more and more should be drilled on the back of the sluice, so that when the water is basically cascading over the front of the sluice, if there's holes in the front, the tailings are not going straight out of the bucket into the actual catch basin. And as you see yourself, there is some very fine sediment in the bottom there, but that was taken over by the actual water coming out of the back. Obviously no holes in the front. If I showed you an angle meter, which basically just shows you it's approximately zero with this setup. I've got it mounted on a sawhorse that I also got from, I think, Lowe's or Home Depot, which makes an excellent fold-up base. I then got a mortar container, which was about $4 or $5, the small size, which obviously is an excellent water container for the main amount of water. The bucket with holes drilled, bolts installed, and sluice set on the top. And if you'll notice that when I put the same scale on the sluice, it's approximately 9-10 degrees. So I'm estimating that if the bucket is approximately zero or flat, then this sluice works best at around a 9 or 10 degree pitch or setup. These scales, by the way, are pretty handy. I think I got this from work, but they got a magnet on one side. There you go. And you can actually put the plastic side, and you see yourself the principle. You get 4 different scales of 0 through 90. I don't think they cost a lot of money and can help you in a few of the maybe setup sluices or clean up sluices or any of those things. So perhaps another thing you can consider from Johnson, magnetic angle locator. I'm just going to put a few spoonfuls of my superfines through this. I'm not going to bore you by doing like some people do, bail an hour's worth of particles through the actual sluice itself. If you see it happen a couple of times, you know the principle. There is a very advantageous water valve here, which you can actually turn, cut off the actual water, or in gradual increments increase the amount of water going through. That came with the kit, the hose clamps, the tsunami pump, and this bracket came with the actual kit itself. I bought it online for about $75, which included the freight, so I thought it was a good deal. Other locations have got it for about $90 plus freight, so I thought that was a better than average deal. So let me put a few spoonfuls of the actual super concentrates, which I took through a 30 sieve and they're suspended in a water briny type situation. So I'll just show you theoretically what I'm experiencing here. The kit came with the template, the drilling instructions, a few rudimentary instructions on how you should actually set up the sluice, but really didn't describe in any great detail anything about the water flow. So I'm afraid in some cases you have to learn from your mistakes, or else just do it repeatedly and see what the best results are. I also used jet dry in this water. Cleaned off the actual alluvial matting to start off with a brush, cleaned it with a water and jet dry solution, and then added jet dry to the water, which basically cuts down on the surface tension, which obviously under very fine gold could cause the gold to actually float and go down the sluice and bail out at the end, where I'm hoping that the jet dry, or some people I think use washing up liquid, cuts down on that water adhesion or tension and allows the fine gold to settle and drop and settle into these very fine small dimple particles here. As with most cleanup sluices, the manufacturer says that the majority of the gold will be trapped within this first couple of 2 or 3 inches, depending obviously on the water volume. The higher the water volume, the more pressure the water gets. Obviously that gold may be chased down the sluice and settle lower, but with the right amount of water and the right volume, you should have that gold settling in the top 1 inch to 2 inches and be easy to see, obviously with the black background of the matting. Just a couple of more spoonful, guys, and then I'll leave you to your gains. But I just wanted to show you this. I'm pretty excited about from now on using a standardized method. I bought smaller sluices from other locations. I'll show you a couple of this was one of mine, a homemade one, some gutter and some deep V matting, and I'll be honest with you, I've never used this yet, but with this setup I'm going to see if I can actually improvise a couple of more bolts on this tub or on the bucket and use the sluice underneath it as a foundation to put this sluice on the top. I don't want to get into thousands of different ideas and thousands of concepts, but I'd like to try this sluice, and also another one that I think I'd mentioned in one of my YouTube videos that I bought online from a vendor, I think eBay. This was only about 10 or 12 bucks including the freight, and it's the same principle. It's a piece of aluminum guttering, and then inside I think it's the very same matting that I've got in mine. I think this is a deep V mat, so that's another principle I might try. And then last but not least, I'd sent you a YouTube video on this. I made this out of the same kind of PVC guttering, put some deep V matting in the top, and then found some rain guttering, a cap from a rain gutter, which has not only these round indentations or round circles, but underneath them it's got a very fine web or mesh. And I was thinking that this would be a pretty fine catcher of gold, or a cleanup sluice. It's about 24 inches long, and I'm going to try this once again using the alluvial sluice as a piggyback. You can see yourself that if I put some smaller bolts in the front of the bucket and use the actual alluvial sluice as a base, I should pretty much get the same angle that the sluice is running at underneath the alluvial sluice, and just piggyback these other cleanup sluices and use one base water supply to feed 2 or 3 different sluice possibilities or options. So just another side of my sick and twisted mind, guys, but that's what I do I don't have much of a home life. So just a couple of more spoonfuls and I'll be saying goodbye to you. This is very fine concentrate that I got from a place outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, a very, very small creek that runs through a farm field. I get permission from the farmer to actually use the creek, and one of these days I'm going to go back with a trommel spend a whole day there and really go to town and get much deeper into that creek bed. See if I can find some bedrock or some decomposing granite or some kind of underlying hard foundation, obviously, that the gold has settled on, and really go to town down there. The couple of hours I've spent down there were pretty much scratching on the first 1 foot, 2 feet of the actual creek bed, and I've yet to see any of this being sluiced or actually find out if I've captured gold there. So this is the first time I've ever even sluiced this sediment or concentrate. I'm not seeing anything much turn up at the moment, but you can see yourself that it's very easy to see even under these light conditions and using an iPad that I'm using right now. But anyway guys, I don't want to bore you anymore, but I wanted to show you a few more ideas, and as always, if you have any comments or recommendations or tips or tricks, let me know. You always learn from other people. You should always learn things every day of your life. You should never say that you know everything, and you should always be glad that people are offering advice to you. Sometimes a little absurd advice, but sometimes very good advice. So you have a good day. Hopefully you catch good gold, and I always say the worst day of gold prospecting is better than the best day of work. See you guys.